out in the first inning swinging.
Yeah, first of all, I couldn't be more proud of us, proud of our guys. I think we talked about making a statement individually and collectively from the first batter on, and they did a great job. And it's all, to me, about preparation. Our guys, are hungry. They have played meaningful baseball games for the past month. I don't think they're feeling a ton of pressure. They just went out there and did what they do best, and the way they prep is what showed up for me today. We came out and ready to play, from the first pitch until the last one. Very impressive.
For Merrill to do what he did after being staked to that 6-run lead, how difficult can that be, and what did you see in the way he navigated that?
Well, first of all, I know I had to answer a lot of questions about Merrill over the past couple of days with the way the Dodgers have banged him around, particularly in the stadium. I think he had a mindset going into this that he wasn't going to let something like that happen again. I think he took it personal, and he went out there and executed at a very, very high level. There's a ton of swing and miss with the secondary stuff. I wouldn't say a ton of swing and miss, but there was swing and miss with the secondary stuff. He was ahead in counts, and I think controlled counts and controlled at-bats as good as we've seen him all year long. Now, you worry about a couple things. You get out to that type of a lead. You wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a letdown. There's long innings, but he went out there and did an unbelievable job of attacking hitters and keeping that score right where it was supposed to be, and let us tack on a couple more. I took him out of the game. I had a chance to keep going with him a little bit, but I told him, look, I want to preserve every pitch I possibly can. We're up 10-0, and it just doesn't make a lot of sense for me to ask you to go any further than this, and he understood.
Go ahead, AJ, go ahead.
It looked like he did understand, but he also really wanted to keep going. What does that say about kind of...
Yeah, that's who he is. That's who he is at his core. He doesn't like to come out in the middle of innings. I don't think any starting pitcher does. Elite, top shelf starting pitching. They want to finish their innings and walk off the mound. I know that about him. So I wasn't surprised by his reaction. But once I talked to him a little bit about it, he was on board with it. So he did his job. He did his job in a very fine way.
Barry?
Asking Doc this too, he's on the other end of it, but it seems now we're getting a pattern here in the last two postseasons. The last year, 3 of the 4 teams that won over 100 games lost. Tonight, 3 out of the 3 teams that won 100 lost. Mm-hmm. The home teams, 3 out of the 4 lost.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, having played during the week, come in sharp, and you've got teams that sit around and won their divisions sitting around for 5 or 6 days.
Yeah.
From your end of it, would you rather have it the way you had it and come in to the NLDS like this?
For sure. I can only speak on one side of it. I've never been in the seat that the best records have been in, where you have a bye and it is a 5 or 6 day wait. We went to Milwaukee. We ramped up the intensity. We kept it there. And I think when we came out in the first inning, we made that statement that I was talking about. So that's what I can say. I just know how we're preparing. We did have a couple days off, and I think it was good for this team to get a little bit of a mental blow. But fundamentally and physically, they were locked in and ready to go. And in every facet of the game, it was the hitting that made the statement. We were picking up the baseball, and then Merrill clearly went out there and executed a really, really fine game plan. That was the recipe for me today. Now, I only know one side of it. I don't know what's going on with the Dodgers or the Braves or the Orioles and who else I'm forgetting right now.
Right.
And the
the Astros are the only home team.
The Astros are the other team. So I can't speak on their behalf.
What on Kershaw? Look, you see these guys 13 times already this year. It's a repeat thing.
Right.
Padres did last year too, and they beat them. What kind of plan did you have on Kershaw? Because it seemed to be right out, aggressive, just swinging at his first or second pitches.
I know we're going to probably get another potentially can get another shot at him. So I don't want to talk necessarily too much about the game plan. I know that he's going to obviously see it from the top of the pitcher's mound and understand what we were doing and make some adjustments. But I just think, Kershaw has had a lot of success against the Arizona Diamondbacks, and We're a hungry team. We're a hungry team, and we had a really good game plan, and we were stubborn to it, and it showed up with some really well executed at bats. But like I said, it's Clayton Kershaw. We potentially see him in Game 5, and I don't want to necessarily go into what the game plan was.
Yeah, Game 4.
Game 4? Okay. My bad. It is Game 4. You're right. Game 4.
I wanted to ask you, you talked about this briefly, and that your pitcher was being aggressive even with that 6-0 lead and the extended. But isn't there, I mean, can you talk about the delicate balance? You do play a bit differently and maybe pitch a little bit differently when you have such a big lead early, am I correct? A little bit?
Yeah.
It's not identical. Where is it a bit different?
Yeah, I think you'll get a chance to hopefully talk to Merrill about that. But I think for me, it's the mental strength that Merrill showed. You know, I think it's mostly a mentality. His stuff is his stuff. It is him blocking out the block noise in between innings, finding a way to keep his body warm, and staying engaged from a mental standpoint. Merrill has tremendous mental toughness. And I've seen that from him for the past 5 years. So I wasn't doubting that he could or couldn't. I knew that he would be able to stay engaged and make pitches despite those long layoffs. I know exactly what you're saying. What is that balance? He could probably give you a better snapshot. But I've seen him walk through this before, and I felt very comfortable knowing he'd be able to go out there and execute.
Take one last one from AJ, and then we'll bring Merrill up.
There was a lot made about facing this team, playing this stadium, some of the struggles you guys have had against them. How did you mentioned the preparation earlier and how you guys felt prepared. How did that kind of play into you being able to do what you did coming straight out of the gate tonight?
Yeah, I think it was everything for us. You know, you get on the stage, every team's good. Everybody's hungry, everybody's ready to go to the best of their ability. But I just think this team was very focused. We had meetings yesterday at the hotel. We had meetings today. We talked about what our game plan was going to be, and I watched this group go out and execute it to a T. So to me, you know, one thing is about gaining the knowledge and understanding what you got to do when you step into the arena, and then part two is the players taking it over and then executing it. They executed at a really high level today. We checked off a lot of pitches. 3 innings, 2 pitchers had thrown 100 pitches at us, and one of them being Clayton Kershaw. I couldn't be more proud of our guys for that.
All right, thanks, Torey.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Okay, we'll bring Merrill up. We can get started with. Okay, first question from Merrill. AJ's got the mic, so we can start with AJ.
What's it like being staked to a 6-run lead in that spot? I know you've probably been waiting for the start your whole life, and then to get 6 runs on the board before you take the mound. What's that like?
It makes my job a lot easier, that's for sure. I got to hand it to those guys in that clubhouse. They jumped all over Kershaw early, and it just makes going out there and feeling going in attack mode makes it a lot easier to do that when you have 6, and then obviously after the second we had 9. That team is a team that you have trouble if you fall behind, and if you're not being aggressive in the strike zone, they can beat you a lot, and they have with me a lot. So the run support early it makes me more comfortable and more aggressive, I think, out of the chute.
What is going through your mind? That was a long top half of the first inning. You have a lot of time to kind of think and maybe get yourself mentally ready. What is going through your mind when all that's happening, and how do you kind of maintain that focus and not get off what your game plan was?
Honestly, I'm just at that minute I'm just trying to enjoy it. Right, I'm watching our guys beat up on one of the best pitchers that we've ever seen in our lives, and watching them do it in the first game that I've ever pitched in the playoffs. So at that moment, I'm trying to just enjoy it and kind of take it all in, while also walking the fine line of, like you said, being able to stay focused and knowing that that's a good team over there and they can put up a lot of runs in a hurry. So I couldn't enjoy it too much, but I tried to enjoy it as much as I could.
Barry.
Hey, Merrill, congrats.
Thank you.
How much did it weigh on your mind that you hadn't beaten the Dodgers and everybody's been asking you questions about this for, a good part of the season? And even last time you came in here and you had kind of a clinker. Did that weigh at all, or you just lock it out at this point?
Yeah, I'd be lying if I didn't say 0. I wasn't thinking about it at all. I touched on it the other day when I did media, or yesterday, whenever that was. I felt like if I gave attention to those games and from the past 5 years, obviously the numbers speak for themselves. I'm pretty sure it's 0-11 with almost a 6. I felt like if I gave those games any attention, I was going out there behind the 8 ball before I even stepped on the mound. So I know that I've watched baseball long enough. Obviously, I haven't been in the playoffs in the big leagues, but I've been in playoff situations in other scenarios in Korea and in AAA. Obviously not the same level, but I've recognized and I've watched enough games to know that anything can happen when you get to the playoffs. So that was my mentality, is try to change that, change those fortunes.
And you consider this to be the most important game of your career at this point?
Yeah, probably the biggest. Obviously the Korean championship is a big one. That one, we won the championship, so I would put it kind of close. But obviously, the big leagues is where we all want to be, and the big league playoffs is where we all strive, to perform.
AJ, then to Steve.
Merrill, obviously you attacked the zone a lot. What was kind of what did work for you that allowed you to succeed against a lineup like this one that you haven't necessarily done in the past?
I'm gonna piggyback on Torey, and I'm gonna have to face. Hopefully I don't have to face him, but the chances of me facing him again are probably pretty high. So I'm probably not gonna go too in depth on that. But with how many games I've thrown against these guys, we took a look at all the pitches that I've thrown against them and kind of how I've gotten beat, and we wanted to. If any time to try to change something and do something different today was that day. But I think the main reason why today ended up better than they have in the past is the aggressiveness in the zone and being able to get ahead of people and not try to nitpick and get behind. And that team over there, when you get behind them, they're really good at controlling the zone and not swinging at pitches out of the zone. So I did want to make it a point to make sure I was aggressive, and like I said, with that 9-run lead, it made it a lot easier to do that.
Last one for me, just how did today unfold for you? It being your first playoff start, what were the nerves like? How did you kind of approach it, and what was it like maybe in comparison to what you thought it might be like?
I don't know. I'm a pretty even keel guy. I'm a pretty laid back guy. I try not to put too much attention into things that I can't control. I try not to build things up bigger than what they are. I tried to tell myself that it was just another game as much as I could. Obviously, there was butterflies going out there in the first inning and warming up with the intros and everything that was going on. My dad actually missed his flight this morning, so I had to kind of scramble and figure that part out. So I think maybe that might have been, even though at the time I was a little pissed, I think that might have been maybe a little bit of a good distraction for me. So thanks, Dad, for not getting to the airport early enough. But I try to just stay as even as I can, and I think I did a pretty good job today. Yeah, he made it. Phoenix.
So I wanted to ask you a question about, obviously, when you determine what pitches you're going to throw, it's based on the situation you're facing. We know that, the batter of the situation. So when you have a 6-0 lead and then a 9-0 lead, does it change a bit the pitch selection as you go on? You might have thrown you might challenge a player a bit more or differently if it's a scoreless tie as opposed to having a 6-0, 9-0 lead?
Yeah, a little bit. And I think, if anything, it just allows me to be more aggressive with those certain pitches. The game plan stayed the same as far as the attack approach for each and every hitter, but that 9-run lead just gives me a little bit more confidence to execute each pitch, knowing that even if I do give up a solo homer or a 2-run homer or a 3-run homer, we're still up by a lot of runs, so that it makes it a lot more feasible.
And that's it. If I just follow, so in other words, you can make a mistake, that makes you a bit freer in maybe some of your choices at that point.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, I would say.
This is a memorable night for you for a lot of reasons. And the fact you beat a Hall of Fame pitcher, one of the best of our generation, what does that add to the whole experience?
Yeah, it definitely makes it a little bit sweeter. Warming up out there, we were both long tossing at the same time before we went in the bullpen, and he kind of gave me a little acknowledgement, and I gave it back. And like you said, I mean, we've been watching him do it. It's funny that we're the same age, but I feel like I've been watching him do it since I was little. The fact that he's been around doing it as long as he has, his accolades, his career, his records speak for himself. So the fact that I was able to square off against him, coming into today, I was excited about that. But being able to pitch the way I did, and like I said, our guys kind of jumped on him early. It was fun to watch.
Barry.
The cramping that you're experiencing earlier in the season, has that all dissipated now? You don't have that problem anymore? You've worked through it?
Yeah, I haven't felt it in I don't know how many games. And whenever that last time at home, I can't remember what date that was, but the last time at home that I came out of the game, that was the last time I felt it. Yeah, whenever that was. But the temperatures are, have been dropping steadily since then. So I think we're probably in the clear for that.
All right, thanks a lot, Merrill.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.